Hi, my name is Megan Andrews, and I am here to speak about my personal leadership development plan that I have established. I first want to speak about my leadership philosophy. So, obviously, this is a little summary of what my whole leadership philosophy actually is. And I believe this is something that I take with me to heart when I teach, but also in my home as well with my husband and with my growing family. So, a leader is not afraid to change their ways and tries to see things from a different perspective while also fostering a positive environment. My leadership is more of a blend of transformational, delegative, autocratic, and visionary. So I have quite a few different types of leadership skills that I like to take into one and make it my own. So my journey has allowed me to seek my strengths and weaknesses throughout the way I lead in and outside of the classroom. So, with being a more creative leader, I also hold the characteristics of discipline, futuristic, competitive, intellect, and connectedness. Now, based off of my leadership philosophy and based off of what I've learned this year about myself, these are a few things that I did want to improve on, not only in this assignment, but also outside of the assignment as well. These are something that I've been wanting to work on. So, I also want to improve letting go, not always being in control, being less demanding in and outside of the classroom, being less delegating, have more of an authentic leadership style, and have more patience, and also becoming more self aware. So, for my action plan and main objective, based off of my leadership style and strengths, I would like to take a couple of mine into consideration and change them based off the weaknesses that they portray within myself, my students, and those around me. As of recently, during the school year, I have noticed that control is something I've always taken precedent over when teaching or accomplishing goals. And with discipline being my highest strength as a leader, I immediately knew it was because my inability to let go of any control in and outside of the classroom. So even though it was a strength, I immediately saw it as one of my weaknesses as well, because this is something that I personally have been wanting to work on. So, this control also leads to a more delegative leadership style. And although I've integrated other leadership styles into my teaching practice, my delegative leadership style and sense of control is something that I would like to improve on in order to become a more effective leader. This will also include taking more control over my emotions and the way I go about certain situations rather than losing all sense of control to the point where it ignites my fight or flight, causing me to even disassociate or overreact to those around me. Which means that my first overarching goal is to give up more control and to develop a plan to achieve a less controlling environment and to be okay with giving up control in leadership situations to benefit myself and those around me for my own mental health and for the mental health of the people that I love. And this also ties into the philosophy that leadership needs to be inspirational and should be provided by leaders who are facilitators rather than controllers. I was really inspired by this quote as well. So for this goal, I do have three actions and also three different time frames for those actions. And for my time frames, I do want it to be ongoing because I feel as though this is something that is not just something that ends at the end of the school year or ends at the beginning of next year. This is something that I want to be able to contribute to my own mental health, because if it's not ongoing, then I might relapse in a way where I do end up in the same situation. So, the first action is finding the root of the problem. So, going really in depth with myself, self reflecting, self meditating, and create a routine time to self reflect and meditate more in order to look within and at my past in order to find the root of the problem. So, this will allow me to tackle the issue head on in order to become a better leader. So, this may include meditating and also therapy, which can include session once a week. So, finding the root of my issue with control can include going to therapy once a week, or meditating once a week, or even more if I feel like I need to, in order to self reflect and look within myself. And the assigned day every week could be subject to change based on the circumstances. My next action is recognizing my emotions and identifying my stressors. And I think this is really important because this is something that I've already started to do and I'm starting to do more within the classroom as well. And with this, I would like to journal what I am feeling mentally and physically in times where it feels like I have lost control over a situation. So, whether I disassociate, whether it's mentally in that sense, or if it even is hindering me physically as well, whether I tense up or it even manifests into an anxiety that is affecting my body. So, identifying the stressors and how it affects my health will help me gain more motivation to improve and implement that as a leader. So there are usually almost daily occurrences which I feel like I have felt a loss of control, even if it is something small that is not as noticeable. So this could be from an unexpected situation if things go against as planned, or if a student acts out that I can't control, etc. So, taking notes of these occurrences and journaling how it affected me and how I felt both mentally and physically could help me improve when trying to, well, ironically, gain more control of my emotions and less control of the situation that is occurring in my presence. The last action that I want to take is creating strategies. So, this could be something that I could do as far as practicing techniques during the times that I felt like I've lost control in order to control my emotions back. So, this would be daily occurrences after finding the root and recognizing what I'm feeling at that moment. So, depending on the situation and timing, I may have time to take out to do some art therapy. Maybe if it's the weekend and I come across that I've lost a sense of control, I can take out a sketchbook, do some art therapy. Or even if I have a small amount of time, I can take some deep breaths to recognize my surroundings. And also, thinking before I act or speak can also be a great strategy, just to take a handle on my emotions and be even more level headed. So, going along with my first goal, I want to ask myself these questions just so I can gain more ground when I'm approaching my actions. So, what are ways one can give up control? Why is it difficult to allow others to take charge for myself? Why do I associate myself so much with routine, structure, and physical objects with the need to control it? How can I reduce anxiety and stress when control is let go of? At what points is it okay to let go of that control and when is it not? In what ways can I take on more control of my emotions and stress and anxiety and less on the things around me? And last but not least, how can tackling the root of the problem of control help me to become a better leader? So, my first goal can easily be led into my second overarching goal, which is to go from a more delegative leadership style to incorporating more of an authentic leadership style. So, branching off from more of a delegative leadership style to a more authentic leadership style by developing more patience and understanding in the way I teach. And the philosophy that this ties into is authentic leadership describes leadership that is transparent, morally grounded, and responsive to people's needs and values. So again, I do have three different actions that I want to take for this goal and three different time frames as well. And these time frames are a little different because I do want to be able to incorporate this into the rest of the school year, and the end of the school year is June of this year. Obviously, I would like to take this into the following school year until I go on maternity leave and take it from years forward. But for right now, in practice, it would end at the end of the school year this year. So, for my first action, I do want to create a pros and cons list because I believe that not all delegative leadership style is necessarily bad, but I do want to be able to just incorporate more authentic. So, create a pro and cons list of both delegative and authentic leadership styles in order to compare and contrast. Integrating a bit of delegative within an authentic leadership style could become beneficial based on this action. And I want to be able to do this twice a month, so bi monthly, based off of what I already know and also what I have experienced in the classroom with my own teaching. Creating a pros and cons list will help compare and contrast the two ways of teaching. And if some delegative strategies work, I can also incorporate them into my style that will involve a more authentic approach as a goal. For my second action, I want to be able to recognize delegative in action and when I am coming across too demanding or too commanding. So, this would actually be more of a daily occurrence because I want to be able to practice recognizing this in the classroom so I'm able to turn this into more of an authentic style of teaching. So this could include thinking more before I react or speak to my students. So, just practicing some self aware strategies in order to recognize this, and this will help me navigate my way into teaching to develop this leadership style that will be more beneficial to myself and my students as well. And for my last action, I want to be able to document outcomes of both different leaderships and kind of weigh the options because at the end of the week, I can also journal and reflect how my week went in terms of the style of leadership I chose to use. So, the outcome of it from the students while comparing their work ethic and their overall response based on each day from that week, I think will really help me realize which one will work best. And again, if there's ways that I can incorporate maybe even a little bit of both based off of my pros and cons list and based off of my journal entries, that I can develop a better way of teaching that will help them and also help myself. So, organizing just a routine to start a journal in order to document the outcome of the student's response and work ethic based off of both leadership styles. So then, based off of this second goal, again, what to ask myself for these questions is how can I go from a more delegating style to an authentic style without being taken advantage of by my students as the teacher? I don't want to be to the point where I'm too authentic. They walk all over me because they are upper high school students. Also, in what ways can a more authentic style help my students and others more in the long run? Are there ways that a delegative leadership style can be beneficial that I can include within an authentic leadership style? How can a delegative leadership style have a negative impact on myself and my students? Can resulting in a more authentic leadership style benefit better mental health for myself and others? How can I catch myself in times I am too demanding within the classroom or just come off mean in a sense? And last but not least, will work ethic in the classroom improve based on a more authentic leadership style? So, again, I think it is important that as a leader, no matter how many years you have been a leader or in a leadership position, it is super important to recognize your strengths, but also be humble in the sense where you also take those strengths and recognize your weaknesses as well. So you're able to continuously improve because it's always important, I know as a teacher myself, that we are always learning. I learn from my students every single day, and I like to humble myself when I am wrong in situations. And just to be able to look at this and really self reflect is super important, no matter what kind of leader you are in or outside of the classroom. So, even though I would like to improve as a leader in and outside of the classroom, a leadership style that is too controlling can often lead to low engagement and higher levels of stress. I know this personally as well. So, being more authentic can foster a more positive environment that builds trust. And noticing my setbacks allows me to recognize the need for these improvements overall. This is not only to benefit my students, but also my future family and my mental health. And letting go of control, but also having more control on my emotions, create a more peaceful and uplifting culture that I believe is important for everyone to experience, whether it's my family, whether it's my students, my colleagues, anyone around me. I think this is super important to recognize. And that is my leadership goals. And thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.